Did you get caught up in any kind of awkward situations where like the seizure kind of made an appearance in the most inopportune moment?
Yeah, that definitely happened. I was dating this guy and we were over at my place. He was making dinner because I don't cook, and got a little distracted and he was in the middle of a task and all of a sudden I just hear, hello? Hello? Like, what's going on? And I'm like, I'm just like, what?
When you say in the middle of a task, just so that we're all on the same page, what task are you talking about?
Let's just say he was at risk of hurting his neck.
Yes, thank you. Yes, he was.
And everybody knows there's only two ways that you can hurt your neck. Getting rear-ended.
Aren't those both the same, different words for the same thing? All right, I'm going to start this one off with a question for you, Landis, right off the bat. What does it feel like to wake up after a seizure completely wrecked, knowing that for the next 4 days, your brain is going to try to convince you to your life?
That's a great question because, I don't really know. I don't remember that after that postictal, post-seizure, right away.
Oh, wow.
Feelings.
Okay.
And those 4 days, I often don't remember a lot of what happened. Even though in those 4 days, I will try and pretend like I can do things, work or something when I'm my brain just is not functioning correctly. But my seizures end with this incredibly piercing headache in my left temporal lobe and then just tears. I just start crying. And that's when I realized that I had the seizure. A lot of times I'll go into denial that it happened. I'll be like, it wasn't a seizure. I'm just going to go lay down and take an Ativan and I'll be fine. And, so there's a lot of denial because I think it's I know what's coming, but I also don't want to admit I know what's coming.
Yeah.
Because
for the audience, can you lay out just in case, people aren't aware, what is postictal? What is that period? What does that mean?
Well, first of all, it's a phrase you have to say very carefully because otherwise it sounds you're saying postictal.
That's what I just. Yeah. Well, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's not postdictal
After sex.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. Hold on. Because that's what I thought we were talking about. After you get dick down, and you just feel so sad about it. Sorry. What do you think I asked? What are we talking about here?
Yeah. So
is that how you say it? Is that
post?
So it's so weird. It's spelled ICTAL. Postictal.
Postictal, not
yeah, but when you say it real fast, there definitely sounds like
I literally
there's a D
spelled
in
it
there.
post space DICK space.
That's how you were pronouncing
DYL.
it. You were definitely saying it that way.
Yeah, post-dick. That's what I was saying. It was the post-dick down, dude.
It's got a real. It's very similar to dongle.
Sorry. Okay, so we're we're talking about epilepsy. My bad. Okay.
Okay.
I thought this was a whole different podcast.
Yeah, back on track here.
And
now that
suicide.
we know.
No big deal.
Yeah,
That's where we are, guys.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Postictal.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's, and the funny thing is so many people, even in the epilepsy community, don't know that term because we're there's so many different terms working around. But yeah, the postictal phase is different for every person. And because of where my seizures occur in my left temporal lobe, it's the part where emotions, are. So some people get real happy and excited.
Oh.
I don't get that. I just get this immediate depression that intensifies in 24 hours where it's at its worst. And I 50% of the time I will have ideation where I either, want, I just start thinking about not wanting to be here. Or there have been times where it's gone to suicidality where I've started planning how I don't want to be here.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it's one of those things that's it's pretty messed up, but it's also, I have, with really wonderful care, I have a practicing neuropsychologist who practices talk therapy, which is very unusual. And she specializes in epilepsy. And she helped me create a plan for after I have a seizure. So I literally just pull out this folder of notes that I've created, and it tells me things like, these are your favorite places you like to order takeout from. These are good movies or TV shows for you to watch, because like I can't remember any of this stuff after a seizure. I can't remember even what comforts me. And then there's a whole other section that I created for myself about what happens if I'm feeling or radiation. And it's like, here's a list of people you can call. Here's a list of people who will drop everything and like come over. Here's a list of people's houses you can go over to. And most of those time, those people are the same. It's not like this is like endless lists of people, but it's just, I can look at what my need is and figure out who to talk to or who to call.
Whoa,
Wow.
that's really cool.
Yeah,
So it's less
so
of a,
helpful.
So it's not like you have the seizure and then you have this like reaction to the seizure of like, wow, I hate having seizures and I hate how these like this pain and I hate all this stuff and there's like a depression that comes from the having to live with having seizures. It's actually like as a result of the seizure, you get this period where like the seizure,
It's like you're still in the seizure, kind of.
Like the way it affects your brain just makes
Totally.
you feel that way.
and other
Wow.
people could have different emotional responses as a result of having the seizure. It's not like,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah,
that's so
it's all
interesting.
about where it occurs in your brain and what it triggers. And so
Which
and it
totally
is
makes
strange
sense.
too, because like for like those 4 days will happen, they will be absolutely f***ing terrible. Oh my god, it's okay that I swear, right?
Totally.
Oh,
Yeah.
whoa.
I thought so.
Shut
but
the
then
fuck
I was
up
like,
and don't swear
This is a
ever.
family show. What the f*** is your problem?
We're gonna have to beep a lot of that out on YouTube. But anyway, come on, guys.
Totally fine for Apple and Spotify.
You bitch.
Yeah, lo siento. Okay. So yeah, but like the thing is that I have to remember, and like I have notes to myself that are like, you're gonna feel like this. It's totally okay. It's very normal. I promise it'll go away. And it's just this like all of these like kind of, and it's not like fancy or anything. This is written on like the back of receipts and crap. Like this is
Right.
just like something I need. And as for those 4 days go on, what's very neat is that I don't know if it's neat, but it does lift. Like the depression starts to lift.
Right.
And I'll start to feel it. Like it'll be like, oh my gosh, I feel better than I did this morning. And that's a good sign. I feel better than I did last night. And after those 4 days, it's like that depression never happened in my world.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's like, I don't remember it. I all of a sudden it's just like flips over and I'm like, oh, I feel great. What? Was I sad yesterday? Like, and my husband's like, yeah.
You were really sad.
Yeah.
I
When you
feel like
read
there's
those,
so much to unpack here, and like I know we're gonna go back to the beginning here, but how often are you having these seizures?
So it all depends, I went through a really rough period, beginning of the year, and I was having seizures like almost every other day. But then I did make it 7 weeks without a seizure, like in a stretch recently. And that's the longest I've had in years.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm like,
Okay,
my
so,
doctor
yeah.
was kind of like, you kind of need to expect a seizure every 2 to 6 weeks kind of
Okay.
thing.
Whoa.
Oh yeah. Wow. That's
When's the-
disruptive.
And how recently did you have the last one?
I believe it was about 3 weeks ago.
Are you trying to talk her into one right now, Brian?
But
What's going on
I'm
here?
like, Brian, what
Brian's
the
just
hell,
looking
man?
for clicks. He's looking for clicks at all costs. and
Before
he
we
doesn't
started
care-
rolling, I
he doesn't
was
care
saying-
who it hurts.
Before we started
Yeah.
rolling, I was saying it would be really helpful for the show if you could just start off by showing us what it looks like.
Yeah, well, I kind of can because nothing is happening. Like I have had them and people walk past me and they don't know because I'm just staring off and going in and out of awareness, not
Yeah.
really knowing what's going on, but kind of knowing. It's kind of like a little bit like if you drink too much and you black out and like you kind of have like these memories that are like kind of there and kind of not.
I have no idea what
yeah.
that's like
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, that can't
Yeah.
relate.
Yeah,
I've never done.
What's
I
that?
would
What's that
love
like?
to I would love to take it. So you know what? Before we go too deep into it, Landis, take a moment, introduce yourself to our listeners. Give us a little
Yeah.
bit of insight into who you are, and make sure you plug your podcast while you do it. And also maybe give us a little bit of insight into where did this all start for you? Because I know that this is not like epilepsy that you've been living with your entire life. This was sort of sprung upon you like a seizure might be.
Yeah. Totally.
So give us a little bit of background here.
Sure. Yeah. So I do have a podcast. It's called What the F. It's for epilepsy what the F moments. If that vibe or tone sounds familiar, it's because it's very much like Sickboy, where, we just have these tough conversations couched in laughter.
We just mailed out our cease and desist. You can expect that in about probably by the time you have your next seizure.
Yeah, and so it's just a place to talk about like adulting with epilepsy, the conversations that don't happen inside doctors' offices, and to help other people like have a touchstone, feel not alone. It's a free resource for people with epilepsy. Just trying to, I don't know, make everyone feel like they can relate to someone out there.
Yeah.
Because it can be a really isolating condition, which I didn't really realize until I was 32 when I was diagnosed. I had like a nighttime seizure, and then went to the hospital because that was weird. And my neurologist ran, an MRI, and it turned out I had a brain tumor. And so they were like, "Yeah, we need to get this out. Like, this is kind of a big deal."
Wow.
Yeah, it was my second brain tumor. So I feel like everyone has hobbies. I like to collect them.
Mm-hmm.
But the other one is like
your head's like a fucking pokeball, like
yeah. I mean, like who else can say that? I mean, a lot of people can say that, but yeah. So I had to have brain surgery, and it was a stage 2, and so I needed radiation as well. And like 6 weeks after the surgery, about 2 weeks into radiation treatment, I started having epileptic seizures. And that's pretty like cause and effect. Like literally where the seizures occur in my brain is where the tumor was.
So you literally got epilepsy. I mean, is that how it works? Like you had a brain tumor, and the brain tumor is like, all right, you're taking me out, but before I go, here's some epilepsy. Like,
yes.
And is an epileptic seizure like, so the seizure that you had as a result of the brain tumor,
right.
is that because like the brain tumor is pushing on your brain in a way and makes you have a seizure, but that's not an epileptic seizure. That's just that's a different type of.
Yeah, that was from the brain tumor, and I had 2 of those. And then after the second one is when I went into the ER.
What's more fun, the epileptic seizure or the brain tumor seizure? What's a more wild ride?
Oh God, that's a tough question. So I would say the scarier one is the nighttime seizure, because there's a condition, well, not a condition, but something called SUDEP, which is sudden unexplained death in epilepsy patients. And it usually happens during sleep, when someone has a seizure at night and they're still not entirely sure. That's why it's called unexplained. They don't know why it happens. So I was unaware of this when I was having those seizures, but those feel like I have run a marathon and pushed a truck at the same time. And like your whole body is just completely done.
Whoa.
And like, you can't even it's just that you don't leave your bed. People like have expressed as well, like you just don't leave your bed for days, and you're just like, what the hell just happened?
But how do you know that it happened? Like, do you wake up in the middle of it?
Is the unexplained part like they don't know what causes the death, or they don't know where these come?
They don't know what causes the death.
Well, didn't the seizure cause the death?
Right. But like, what does that even mean?
Right.
Like, is it because like?
Oh, I know what it means, because you guys saw that commercial.
The same
when
thing
somebody's
with kids.
having a
It's
seizure
called,
and they take like the tube of M&M minis and they're like, quick, put this in his mouth.
Yeah.
Right.
But you're not supposed to do that.
No, that commercial confused me.
Don't ever put anything in anyone's mouth when they're having a seizure. No one knows how this got started.
Yeah.
Like, neurologists are baffled. They're like, where did this start?
I think I know.
You're going to swallow your tongue.
I think I know where it started.
No, you cannot swallow your tongue. Sorry, I'm really getting viscerally angry.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
Because this was a commercial when we were kids.
Brian,
and it was
Brian's
crazy.
he really is trying to just bait you into having.
It really was crazy because the commercial was kids being like, quick, someone put something in his mouth.
There was one of those.
I remember always being like,
I think
even as a kid,
that
I
might
was
have been
going,
like a Canadian heritage movie.
yeah, and I was always going, wait, why would you put something in somebody's mouth while they're having a seizure?
So the point of that commercial was that the myth is
where this started.
That people think you need to put something in your mouth to keep you from biting your tongue off or like doing something like that.
Okay.
But that's a myth. And so in the commercial, they're like, quick, put something in his mouth.
So
And then they're like, no, you're not supposed to do that. But
Oh.
I think people miss the point of the
Yeah, it's like if they had just not said it, they would have been better off.
so
Yep.
so I looked into this right before we hopped on, and it turns out that this is another example of the Mandela effect. So there's a bunch of people that just believe that Nelson Mandela, Nelson Mandela died in prison, right?
Right.
There's also a whole bunch of people that believe that the commercial just ended after the guy said, stick that in their mouth, and then they stuck it in their
Yeah,
mouth.
that's right.
I also think they're conflating it with like the don't you put it in your mouth commercial. They all came out around the same time, so I think people just were like,
You're from the U.S., so like, do you even know what we're talking about?
I was like, people think Nelson Mandela died in prison?
They do.
Yeah, they actually do. It's called the Mandela effect. And you can look it up. But it's a whole. So it's. I mean, we're getting off topic here. This is for our sci-fi. Are we living in a simulation podcast? But essentially, it's one of those. So maybe it is one of those things where it's like people just. It's like a meme that was downloaded by a bunch of people where they go, yeah, I guess you just stick something in their mouth. They're having a seizure.
But the Mandela effect is when you swear that something is true because like you are absolutely positive that you remember it in this way and you are sure that it's true.
And a group of people believe
and
it.
there's a large group of people that believe Nelson Mandela died. Mandela died.
So like Cheez-Its, like you think that they're probably called Cheez-Its in your memory, but they're actually called something else. It's actually not.
Actually, the Berenstain Bears or the Bernstein Bears is a good like example of the spelling of the Berenstain Bear. What you know what? Whatever. It doesn't matter.
Like,
it doesn't matter.
My brain cannot keep up.
She's gonna have a seizure,
now,
guys.
now I'm baiting her into having a seizure. God damn it. But the point is, don't put anything in anyone's mouth. But again, coming back to the fact that they don't know how the death occurs, I find that a bit wonky. Isn't that a bit weird that they're still like, we just don't even know, like we don't even know how.
And like there's a lot of research happening that's probably going to be defunded soon.
Most likely.
That's people are trying to figure out. There is some guess that asphyxiation is a part of it, but like people, we just don't know. And so it's literally like, as a person with epilepsy, you go to bed every night being like, well, hope I wake up.
Right.
Like, and it's kind of, I don't know. It's, I don't know, Jeremy, if you can relate a little bit to that, just in the sense where it's like you just have this thing hanging over you all the time. Totally. And you just know that like it could be now. Like, and it sounds really f***ed up, sorry. But it's one of those things that like, it does give you perspective, and it does make me, anyway, it has made me appreciate the present moment so much more than I ever did before epilepsy. I lived 32 years without it. And I was like always that person like running around doing everything and like just loving it. Like it was just, I would like the night before my first seizure from the brain tumor, like I left the house 6 a.m. I came home at like 11. That was like a weekday, like just from running around doing work things, having dinner with friends, like all that stuff. That is a life I cannot sustain anymore because I would just be poking seizures all the time. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about, all of a sudden now, boom, you've got epilepsy. Your life obviously is going to change because you are dealing with this thing that is, it's such a, man, epilepsy is such a mind of a disease. Like you're just walking around and all of a sudden you're having a seizure, which is like a wild thing to witness as someone who's not having one. And so I can't even imagine what it's like to be in the position of having it. Obviously, your lifestyle is gonna have to change. There's the obvious things of people going, well, you probably can't drive anymore, but like there's
Jerry,
probably a bunch of stuff that people don't think of. You sort of mentioned it there.
You said you can't imagine it, but it's like playing a video game with bad internet connection. All of a sudden, you just lag out in the middle of the game.
Yeah, right.
And your friends are like, "Where'd he go?"
Yeah,
and you're like, and it just takes a bit of time, and then you connect back on.
So we don't even need you to explain it to us anymore.
Really, man. That's the difference. Like we don't connect right back on. It's like, it depends on the seizure. Sometimes, if it's really a minor blip, small one, like I could have one right now, and I probably will when we hear about cycling But
Burn, dude.
I'll try to steer clear.
So how did your lifestyle change? Like, what did that look like? I know that you've mentioned how it's like you essentially have to adopt this, like, you all of a sudden become this old elderly woman, you know?
Yeah. Well, old people love me because we relate so hard. You know, it's like we go to bed so early. Yeah, like because sleep and stress are two well-known triggers for seizures. Not for
Sure.
everyone, but they are definitely for me. And also, like I say, kind of like monitoring my energy. So it's like, how much energy can I expend right now without putting myself at risk for a seizure? And the thing is, like, you can do everything right and still have a seizure, but it's just trying to mitigate all of those factors. And so, like, you know, all of a sudden, like, oversensory, you know, it took me a long time to get back to be able to like go to a restaurant and just have all these
Right.
noises around me. And I think that was also from the brain surgery as well. But like, there's also like just, you know, like someone, you know, will be like when I was dating, it was the worst because it was like, do you want to meet at 7 for drinks? And I'm like, are you insane? Like 7 o'clock. I'm in my pajamas, man. Like, yeah. And that's truly why I think part of the reason why it worked out so well with my husband and I, because he is a firefighter. So he works 24 hours on and 48 hours off. And so our first date was like at 2 p.m. on a Thursday and, you know, for coffee. And I was like, oh, this works right in my schedule. This is fantastic.
How did you? So you're married. I mean, that's exciting. Dating on epilepsy. Like we've talked to a lot of people over the past about like disclosure. Like, when do you disclose? How do you disclose? Like, you know, that's epilepsy. Again, it's one of those things where that's kind of you don't want to get caught having not told the person.
I feel like it's probably pretty pressing for you to share that.
Yeah, because like, what if all of a sudden you're having a seizure and the person's like, you didn't tell me, you know, like,
well, yeah, that's kind of like what happens is you just have to figure out like what safety, you know, is number one.
Yeah.
And then like, there's a whole this thing of like, what do I owe this person?
Right.
Like, do I owe them knowing what's, you know, that I have epilepsy, or do I owe myself the privacy? And there's a huge issue. And like, I felt this so much. And I've talked to so many people who feel the same way, where we just feel like we're a big old burden. And like anyone who would go out with us and we have seizures just must be amazing. You know, they must be a saint because, you know, you went out with me and you know I have seizures, or you've seen me have a seizure and you'll still go out with me. Which is really a terrible way to date, and it's one I've just really leaned into for a lot of years. Because I didn't understand that like it just takes a different type of person with a different type of character. Doesn't mean just because, you know, it doesn't mean you can ignore all of the bad behavior just because they're going out with you when you have epilepsy. It's like this dating at a deficit that we all, I feel, and I think this is common for most people. You know, we all have our baggage. We all have our stuff where we're like, eek, like, I don't know how they're going to feel about this. Epilepsy is just a little bit more in your face because, you know, if you're like me and having active seizures, you know, it's kind of one of those things where you probably, as from a safety perspective, should. Did I always? No. You know, when I first started dating after my diagnosis, my whole like thought process was like, okay, I will make him fall in love with me and then I'll tell him.
Right.
Like that will be that's my strategy.
I've
right?
seen that movie 100 times.
It
always ends badly.
And I've got a period of 2 to 6 weeks
Yeah.
before the jig is up.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. Yes. Oh no, I was hoping for longer. I was like, there will be a ring on my finger, and then I'll be like, hey, what's up? I have epilepsy. Yeah. So, but like that was just really inauthentic dating, you know, and because I was lying. Like I don't drink anymore because of my epilepsy. That's not required. That's just a personal decision.
Sure.
But you know, so I would lie about why I wasn't drinking. About why we needed to meet earlier. Like I just made up all of these things. And I think like probably they could see through those lies. Like I'm not good at it. And it's just like working your brain even harder to keep up with all the lies you've just told to try and.
Did you get caught up in any kind of awkward situations where like, you know, maybe the seizure, the seizure kind of made an appearance in maybe the most inopportune moment or something, like something
Yes.
kind of like, oh, whoopsie daisy. I should have told you.
Yeah, that definitely happened a few times. Probably the worst time was I was dating this guy, and we really hit it off, and we'd been going out for a while, and we were over at my place. He was making dinner because I don't cook, and he does, and I was like, this is sweet. Like again, because it was like inside, like we weren't out at a restaurant.
Yeah.
We weren't, and got a little distracted, and he was in the middle of the task, and
no.
all of a sudden I just hear, hello, like what's going on, and I'm like, I'm just like, what, like, and that was awkward.
And you were
Sorry,
like, he was like, are you okay? And you were like, I'm just in my postictal. Oh,
Sorry.
shit.
Sorry, when you say in the middle of a task, just so that we're all on the same page, what task are you talking about?
Well, like,
he was grinding the pepper.
Let's just
dude.
say he was at risk of hurting his neck.
yes, thank you. Yes, he was.
And everybody knows there's only two ways that you can hurt your neck: getting rear-ended or cunnilingus.
Aren't those both the same, different words for the same thing? Getting rear-ended and cunnilingus?
Yeah, that's possible.
Oh, you meant a car. Oh, my bad.
I was wondering, is that like, speaking of those two situations, is it worse to have epilepsy in the middle of a sexual act or driving a vehicle?
Well,
yeah. I'm
What did you say? What's worse?
Yeah.
I
Wow.
mean, I think having a seizure while driving, because then you can hurt other people.
Huh,
People,
hot
it's
take.
happened.
But yeah, I see where you're coming from. So okay. I mean, we don't have to go like too much into detail about the time that you had a seizure while you were engaging in sexual activities with a guy on a date at your place while he was cooking a dinner. But I am curious.
Great memory.
How when he was like, "Hey, whoa, what's going on?" Like, how did you like? What did that discussion look like? And how did you I mean, were you like confused too, or was it pretty quickly that you caught on like, oh, I just had a seizure. I didn't tell this guy. Like how did that sort of pan out in that moment? Because that is very interesting.
Yeah, and that's a great question. And I think like the thing is that like, so I don't remember a lot of it, right? Because like those are the moments I don't really remember. But he went and like grabbed a blanket, put it around me. Like he knew something was wrong. He didn't know what though. And he was just lay down. I'm gonna cook dinner, and then it wasn't until maybe like an hour or so later when I'd kind of come to, when I should have really been laying down and sleeping. But I was like, no, just muscle through it. I told him what had happened, and he was very empathetic about it and like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, and thank you for sharing that with me. And, and he handled it really well. And I think that was, and like you hear that story and you're like, wow, that sounds like a nice guy, right? And he was in that moment. But like 90% of the time he was an asshole to me.
Yeah.
And like I got no priority. I got no sort of like I was blown off all the time, but like continued to like kind of follow him around like a little sad puppy. But because of that gesture, like I'll never forget that blanket being put around me, and just being like, just lay down. I'm going to make dinner and then like we'll figure this out. Like that is like, so not to take like, all credibility away from this person because he obviously has, a good heart. It's just that I didn't get treated. That was like the one time that I got treated like that.
And do you think that one time, maybe, I mean, I don't want to like read into this or anything, but just out of curiosity, like, there was that moment of care in that moment. That's like kind of a risky, sort of like a bit of a scary moment. Do you think that as someone who, because you were talking about this like dating from a deficit, right? So you have this moment, you see that, but then there's all these other red flags, but there's like another part of your brain that's going, but also like he might put up with the fact that I have seizures. And so like,
I can see how it would be very easy.
Maybe I don't have to like go searching because it's like, I have a disability and it might be a lot harder for someone like myself, to find love because, so, sure, he's kind of an asshole in all these ways, but he will wrap a blanket around me in the moment of need. You know what I mean? Like sort of coming up with excuses
Yes.
to date a
100%.
asshole because of your epilepsy?
Like, it's pretty, like, I totally understand that. And it's crazy that, like, people think that the bar is set so low in those situations, because, like, the truth is that everybody should take care of people who are having a seizure like that. Like, that should
Totally.
Like, I couldn't imagine somebody.
I mean, the crazy thing is that we
not
actually
doing
do
that.
this in a lot of different ways in relationships, in all sorts of different functions. Like, oh, I'll put up with this because like this person has like a good living and like can provide, or like this person like is kind of an asshole to me, but they're like a really good father, or like whatever. Like, you know,
you have those things that like your average everyday person could kind of a trap that they could fall into.
Yeah.
But then someone like yourself, or even someone like myself, has this added thing where like the psychological sort of trip up of living with a chronic illness can potentially get in the way of you being able to see clearly, because you have this fear or this like internal judgment that makes you feel like, well, if I fuck this up or I lose this, then maybe maybe no one will ever want to be with me because I'm a burden. Or, you know,
it's literally like you just read from my journal, Jeremy.
Well, so actually, I was talking to your husband before this, and he mailed over. That's right here, actually.
Yeah, no, that's because that's it. And I think I love how you point out like this is relatable for everyone, but it does intensify it a lot of it when it's a disability or chronic illness. Yeah.
I mean, like to that point, and this is a bit of a transition here, but I'm curious to know about, and you sort of touched on this a little bit, sort of tangentially, speaking about like the fear of going to sleep. Somebody who lives with epilepsy, where again you have this illness. It's very like, it feels so different from what I deal with it, because like what I deal with is it's always there. It's never gonna like pop up and surprise me, really. But with you have this. It's like almost like it's almost like you're on a hit list. You know, it's like you're just kind of walking around and you're kind of like, well, like I hope there's no assassins in the neighborhood today, like because I never know where they might pop up and like, you know, cap me or whatever.
Yeah.
So with you and epilepsy, is there I want to talk about loneliness, you know, and not like from like loneliness socially, but more from like is there a fear of being alone? Is there a fear about like spending time on your own due to the fact that you have this looming thing that can just like pop out and grab you, you know?
Yeah, no, totally. That's a great question. And like, it's so funny because I look back at, you know, when I was diagnosed, I lived alone. I was on my own. I look back at that first year and a lot of the things I did, and I'm like, well, that was pretty dumb. Like my friend's wedding was in Florida and I'm in Chicago, and she was so sweet. She's like, you do not have to come, you know, like you've had a lot of health things. And I was like, why wouldn't I come? I traveled alone. I stayed in a hotel alone. Like I did all of these things where I was just like, I look back and I'm like, that probably wasn't very smart, you know? But it's funny because I wasn't afraid then. I was just like, if it happens, it happens, and I'll figure it out. And that's kind of, and a part of that has always been like ingrained in me is like, well, when something happens, I'll figure it out. And it's not until recently, and this is really weird, but so I've only been married a little over a year, and now I have a little more fear of being alone than I did when that was all I knew.
Right.
So and recently I've really tried to start doing things like on my own like I used to, you know, like in Chicago we've got great public transportation. Well, in some parts of the city. I'm very lucky to be in a part that we have great public trans. So like I've been trying to get myself to just like go hop on a bus, you know, like I used to, rather than like, cause now, you know, I have a driver, AKA my husband. But like try and go places on my own, or just, you know, do those things again. And there is more fear now than before because I know what it's like to have someone looking out for you. And so it is, and it's one of those things that just is always present. It's like you always know the hitman is in the back of your head, like just waiting for the perfect moment, to knock you out. But it's like, so it's trying to constantly balance my psyche and just be like, okay, let's acknowledge we're afraid, and like make the right decisions based on how we're feeling, but also, not lean too much into the fear, and which I think everyone goes through to an extent. This is just a little bit more immediate. It's like we all should get good sleep and exercise regularly and eat healthy, right? But like with epilepsy, the consequences are just immediate. And whereas like for all those other things, they're usually more long-term, and this is like, no, if I, don't sleep well, if I stay up till like 11, I will probably have a seizure the next day.
Do you have any...
not like I'll just be tired or out of it or not as productive. It's like I'll be all those things and then probably really done.
Yeah. Do you have anything like in place for if you were alone and even if you're like in, you're alone, but in public, like on a bus where like, everybody's a stranger sort of thing. Or if you're alone and you have a seizure, like you have a seizure and you're like, Siri, text husband pineapple. And then he's just like, pineapple, gotta go.
Well, if it's a pineapple and it's upside down, that my husband will think it's something else completely.
Oh,
so
right. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. I'm mixing up my emoji language. I mean,
pineapple.
Text husband eggplant.
He's like predictal. Let's go.
And also to that point too, do you get like an aura beforehand where that it's
auras.
Oh, right, auras. I forgot about auras.
Yeah,
and for people that don't know, maybe give a little like, what's an aura?
So if you could answer all three of those questions together, that would be good.
You got it. Yeah, because my brain can remember all of those things. So an aura, it's like one of the weirdest. Excuse me.
She's having a. Are you having one?
I am not. I just have a little bit of a dry throat.
Oh, my bad. Okay.
Shit.
So it's one of the weirdest things to describe in epilepsy because it's the precursor to a seizure.
Yeah.
But also, you can have just an aura, and then a neurologist will say, well, that's also a seizure. So it's like,
okay.
Yeah. So my auras, I have grown to love them because they are so cool.
They do sound really fun. Honest to God, every time I've heard of them, I'm like, God, that sounds like when I did acid that one time. Like, it sounds cool.
That one time?
Well, the one time.
Hey, fucking relax. Relax. My mom
generally did acid
relax.
once.
Mom, I did it once and I didn't like it, okay?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, but mine are like, they are categories as deja vu. And we all do that thing sometimes where like we try to remember the name of a movie or the name, like the scene, when you're trying to remember something, like someone's name or whatever. So that's what my brain will do. But it's all in the arts and it's all stuff that doesn't exist. So like my brain will try and remember a character that has never happened. I've never seen. It will try and remember a scene from a TV show. It'll try and remember a play that happened in my high school theater that I've never seen. And
it's kind of like the Mandela effect, kind of. I mean, honestly, it really kind of is. Whoa.
But like, I don't
maybe the Mandela effect is just epilepsy.
Like, oh my God.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
Heard it here first.
A lot of my heroes, had epilepsy, so I will always take.
Yeah, and so you're just like, so the aura is literally you just all of a sudden going, what was the name of that play I saw? Oh, here we go. Like that's,
or you're like, what's that Tommy Tuna? He's
and like
a character from what show?
Yeah,
but it just comes out of nowhere. It's just like a thought that you're having.
But it's like very intense. It's like I have to remember right now.
Yeah.
It like kind of just takes over.
And how quickly does that turn into your realization that you're going to have a seizure?
Right.
So as like I've gotten a lot quicker at it. It used to be that like I would see these thoughts out, and like really try and remember. And then it's been like now I can kind of like, if that's happening, and sometimes that's just happening in my life where I'm trying to remember something and I'm like, oh shit, is this and it's not,
Right.
Huh.
But now I've gotten a little bit quicker at recognizing that's what's happening. But like, there's really no time to do anything about it other than just like lay down on the floor or, just get somewhere safe.
What's so interesting about that though, and I got to ask, when you're having this thought, what was the name of that character in that cartoon, and you're trying to go for it. Are you pulling like other people in with you, or is this just all internal? Like, are you going, hey, like, honey, what do you remember when we were like when we were kids?
He was like looked like this,
right? Like, are you doing that to try to get to the answer, Googling shit, but like pulling people in? Because like that's really interesting, because it's like your husband then goes, oh, fucking definitely that show does not exist, and
Yeah, I remember like when I had one in the hospital once, my dad was there, and I just looked and was like, those lyrics, those song lyrics, and like I couldn't and I was like thinking in my head, like, not Rolling Stones, not Aerosmith, like I'm eliminating options, and I'm like, those lyrics, and he's like, what's going on? You know, like he didn't know I was having a seizure because it was so early in my epilepsy journey. But then like I feel like most now I've gotten to the point where it's everything just seems to happen so quick. Right. And now part of that's epilepsy medication that I'm on too. It's like the aura is decreased a little bit, the seizure is decreased a little bit. Right. But
man, that's so interesting.
Are you a creative person? Like, do you like create stuff? Are you keeping like a journal of these things where you're like, oh, that's a new idea for a show?
Yeah, no, I have done that, and like my I am a writer at heart. So I think that's kind of where it comes from. And my favorite one was Mrs. Bitbinder. I was just standing there like, I'll never forget. I remember where I was too. And I was just in my kitchen, like, and I was living alone at the time. And I was like, was she in a book? Like I could see her, you know, she was this older lady with a bun on top of her head. And I was like, was she in a book? Was she in a TV show? And I'm trying to remember. And then like I have the seizure. And the next day I'm like, she has to exist. So I go on Google. There is no Mrs. Bitbinder. But now I want to write something about Mrs. Bitbinder.
Mrs. Bitbinder?
Yes.
Like Bitbind.
Well, you're not going to find it, Jer.
Well,
as your Google.
Well, I mean, I don't want to. Anyway, I don't. Continue.
Wait, hold on. Does this person exist?
Yeah, she's a.
Well, I'm sure there's a thing or person called.
Well, it's the internet. You can find anything that you think of.
Yeah, that's right. The internet is like.
Is she an old woman
universe
with a bonnet on her head?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we need to know.
I was thinking the exact same thing. That like this is all like how clearly can you remember these auras, or are they very forgettable because of the state that you're in?
Yeah, no, the auras, like I generally remember really well. And I'll remember them for years, and they just stay in like, you know, your mind, they stay in my mind's eye, and I can still call upon them and see them all. And it's so strange just because I feel very lucky that is my aura. It's something creative. Yeah. It's something that is in the arts. Like what, you know, like
it is very cool.
Yeah, I get to have something like that, and that my brain is like literally creating something. Or maybe it's calling upon a dream that I don't remember. I've thought about that too.
Right.
But either way, it's new to my conscious self.
The part that's so fascinating to me is I think I just always had the assumption that our auras were always like a somatic thing. So it's like, you know, you feel a weird tingle in the back of your neck, or you start to smell a certain scent that isn't there, or like you maybe you hear a weird ringing. Like I never thought about how they could literally be thoughts or like that's. Do you like? I mean, as someone in the epilepsy community and with a podcast, have you met others that have auras that like that to you were like, whoa, that's interesting, or that's cool, that like people might not think about?
Totally. Yeah. And like a lot of those auras I have as well. But usually those, the good thing about those, like especially the different smells, like for me, it's either something burning or BO and like they don't exist, you know, like, and I will look for something burning, or I will be like, you know, is this me? Like, do I smell? Does someone, you know, and like they're just these phantom smells and now I've gotten so used to it that when those happen, I can take a medication to stop that seizure from happening.
Right.
Or I can sometimes like, I'll be like, kind of, it feels like I'm just taken out of my body, you know, and just like, and that's another one where I can take the medication and stop the seizure. And to answer the question, that was like, you know, few back ago about like going places alone and having something, to rely on. So I also have a service dog who I got him just to be a dog. I didn't know that he would have like service animal qualities in him, but I had my first 2 seizures in front of him and he knew exactly what to do. And which is like, for me, I need someone, if I have a seizure, like ideally someone's sitting there being like, what is your name? What year is it? Where are you?
The dog could just ask you those questions.
Yeah, he's like, what's your name?
He's a talking dog. Yeah. No, but he comes and he licks my face. So, which is like the best he can do for engaging, right?
And now your husband does the same thing?
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
You learn from the best.
Yeah. But I've just started, and I don't know how the difference between Canada and the US, but there's a lot of stigma around taking a service dog around. And I have just in the last like few months started to get the courage to like take him with me on the bus places and take him with me to restaurants and like, because like he now has gotten so good at that. And I train. And then after he knew what to do with seizures, I started training him with a trainer. Like I was like, okay, let's figure this out. Let's make sure we can make this happen. And he just comes through every time. But now what I haven't trained him to do that he does is he detects my seizures before they happen.
Whoa.
And like with the last 2,
what kind of dog is he?
I don't know. He's like an 11-pound mutt. No one takes that size dog seriously to begin with.
They're a special breed. They're a special breed. Whatever they are.
Whatever he's some type of Yorkie, Chihuahua, Terrier mix. I don't know. I haven't done the DNA test, but and he's a very grumpy dude. But he comes through when he needs to. And like I was in the airport and all of a sudden he just starts crying at me.
Oh.
And I was like, that's really weird. And then I was like, oh, I'm feeling weird. And I took my medication and stopped a seizure.
Wow.
And and he's done that now a few times where he'll just like, he'll come over to me and start crying. And I'm like, oh, like you've had your exposure to these.
Fascinating.
How do they know?
Dogs are psychic,
intuition.
Dude. Dogs are psychic.
It makes me think of
there's
that
a
thing,
scent that your body gives off.
Oh, that's interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dogs are like they're incredible. Like they just are incredible. Actually, interesting little like tidbit here. There's no way for me to prove this, but my last dog who died of brain tumors, he was a big French Mastiff, and this long before we knew he had tumors in his brain. My ex-wife had a dog, and that dog was a German short-haired pointer. So like a dog that's like it's
nose
like toucan Sam. That dog can follow its nose. It knows what it's doing. And Rose and Bigby were the 2 dogs. They loved each other. They were like best friends. And Rose would constantly be obsessed with just sniffing Bigby's skull, like the top of his head, sniffing away all the time. And I always thought that was weird.
Yeah.
Then, of course, fast forward like a couple of years later, we find out that Bigby has a bunch of tumors in his head. And I was like, did Rose sniff out those tumors? Like, was that the sort of warning sign that we just didn't even realize? Because like, why would you? It's like the dog's not talking to us like your dog does. I just always thought that was so interesting. I mean, dogs really are just so fascinating. Mm-hmm. I have one thing, interesting little thing to share here. You guys recognize this little lady?
Yeah.
Is that Mrs. Bitbinder?
That's Miss Bitbinder. That is Miss Bitbinder.
I feel like you just made this on ChatGPT.
I did, but I mean, you can see it. You can kind of see it. This could be a Miss Bitbinder,
yes, absolutely.
If she existed.
Yes. No, I'm 100%. I mean, we have to change wardrobe a little bit, but definitely on brand.
A little too much, a little too Quakery,
Yeah.
I've had a question that I wanted to ask right at the beginning when we were talking about, but then we moved on. When we were talking about the aftermath of your seizures and the depression and stuff, and the like scrapbook of reminders that you have, like when you're reading those things, like because it's not like a reaction. It doesn't sound like it's a reaction that you can just like snap yourself out of. it's more of like my brain is doing this because I had a seizure, and my brain is just like being this way. When you read something that's like, whatever it is, that's reminding you like, hey, you don't really want to die. Like when you read that, how do you respond? How are you responding to seeing that that's something that you've written? Like, are you dismissive of it at first and then you just like reread it, or like, how do you,
or is it like Memento where you read it and you go, what the is this? Like, like you don't even realize.
Yeah. Like, how do you make that helpful in the moment where your brain is like trying to not be helpful?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And it's honestly, it's very validating because in those moments, like, I can't name how I'm feeling. I can't figure out what's going on. And like, to hear from myself, this is what's happening and it's going to be okay. And here is a guide of what you should do. It is very comforting to see like, okay, I have been through this before. I may not remember it right now, but I have been through this before. And this is myself protecting myself from myself.
Right.
And there is the dismissive part. That's a great question, especially when dealing with ideation, because that's when, for me, I feel the most of a burden. I just feel like a burden to everyone. I really don't want to reach out to anyone because I don't want to bother them. I don't, So what a therapist suggested I do, and I followed through with, was I reached out to a few friends and said, hey, can you just send me like a 3-sentence email just saying that I can call you anytime. And I had them, and they just wrote like sweet little messages, and I printed them out. And those are in that folder too. So that it's like, from my friends will be like, call me anytime. I don't care how you're feeling. I always want to hear from you, and I need those reminders that I am loved and there are people who care about me and I am not a burden and it's okay to reach out. And I think that has been really powerful too. I'll also keep like really meaningful birthday cards in there or something, just all these reminders and to comfort myself. The other thing I do is I pack a bag full of comfy clothes. And so it's like, it's just stuck in the back of my closet. And it's like, for when I have a seizure, I pull out like the most comfy sweatpants and like ratty, comfy t-shirts, nothing cute, just kind of like how I'm feeling, like gross and baggy and, but like, and I write myself notes too, like make yourself as comfortable as possible. So I'll pull out like all of the blankets in our house and put them all on the couch, and just kind of like wrap myself just to kind of provide and alleviate any of that depression that I can, while knowing that I just need time for it to pass.
I need all of these things just for when I have a bad day.
Yeah.
Well,
I have all of these things, but it's for when the zombie apocalypse hits. So it's like it's very doomer, doom prepper. But like yours is a lot cuter.
It is really. It's just a fascinating conversation because I remember when we first started doing the show. And we were recording in your mom's basement, Brian, and I feel like it was probably one of the first conversations we had about depression. And I remember kind of having the conversation around like, is it silly of me to think that you can just like set up reminders and triggers for when you feel like this, that you can remind yourself that you don't really feel like this. You're just in a moment right now where your brain is tricking you into feeling like this. And I feel like some of the time, or maybe I felt like, oh, that's just silly to think that you can do that. And maybe, depression after a seizure is very different from like, depressive disorder or whatever. But like, it always kind of seemed to me like anything like that would be helpful, even if it's very hard to take it seriously.
I think
the
the silly part is to think that is the Band-Aid that will fix.
Yes.
But I think, but of course, it's something that it's a tool that you can add to the toolkit that of course is going to be better than nothing. Like to just have it there is something that is going to, that can possibly aid you in that moment.
Totally.
And I think, like, I mean, to hear the way that you've structured this and laid this out so meticulously, it's brilliant. It's genius. Like, have you ever thought about actually recording a video of yourself? Because like when I hear you talk about this, I'm like, God, if it was me, I wonder how like I would connect with it if I saw myself talking down the barrel to myself in a really like loving, caring way.
Hey, buddy, looks like you had a big one.
Yeah, like,
hey, I just
like
want to say,
I don't know if anybody
you know,
like Total Recall with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like he has that throughout the movie. He's like he sees it's like the past himself is talking to himself, and you're.
Have you ever thought of taking on like a bunch of logistical stuff and like content creation in the immediate aftermath of your seizures?
Geocaching videos around the city so you go find them? But
Well,
yeah, like have
it's
you thought
funny
about the video
say
thing?
that.
Yeah.
Because my neuropsychologist said, like, the next time you have a seizure, record a few videos,
Right.
you know? And
Yeah.
just so, and that, like, and those are not fun to watch, but
No, yeah.
they do help shape how I take care of myself later.
Yeah.
I hadn't really thought about, though, making them for when I'm in that moment,
Right.
you know? And honestly, I don't know if I'd be able to find it. I'd have, you know, because like my brain is just so, it's like functioning at such a low level. There would have to be like a note, like there is this video saved under this file, like
Right,
you know.
yeah.
I mean, here's the hyperlink, and you just take a
That's
photo.
what I
and
was
go,
gonna-
Yes.
you know,
There,
like
there you
was
go.
just-
put it on
was
Google
wondering-
Drive, and it's like, oh, by the way, go to this link.
I was
Yeah.
wondering about that with your folder. Like, are you getting so many things in it now that you're collecting where you're like, oh, I'm just kind of making this.
And also, is it
confusing
pinned to
for
your
myself.
fridge? Like, how do you know where to find the folder?
Yeah, so it's right in the kitchen. Like I have like a little thing of like,
yeah.
you know, important mail stuff, and it's just right there to pull out. I used to keep it in the bag full of comfy clothes,
Right.
but then sometimes I'd forget to pull, like, because I'm just looking for a big old t-shirt, you know, and I'd forget to take it out. So I just keep it like front and center and now it's become like, it's become part of the routine,
Yeah.
you know, where it's like, okay, take the medications, go lay down, wake up and pull out the folder.
Amazing. I have a question, a two-part question that we typically wrap the show with. What would you say is the biggest thing that epilepsy has taken away from you?
I would say independence. You know, it's really kind of hampered my ability to kind of do what I want to do. So I guess independence / ambition, if that makes sense. Like I was always like just I was always just doing things and like having so much fun doing them. And it just was like, nope, your energy level is much lower now. You don't have that capacity. So, and also like the reliance on other people to like literally get places, you know, like my mom, lives 6 hours away, you know, and I can't drive there anymore. You know, you're even just getting out to, you know, I have family that lives in the suburbs. They're 30 minutes away, but like, you know, it's just, there's a bigger reliance on other people, but that's not always a bad thing.
Mhm.
So
what would you say is the biggest thing that it's given you?
appreciation for like the smallest stuff. I mean, I've always kind of been a person that it doesn't take much to make me happy or joyful, I should say. But now I feel like that joy is just heightened because I know, you know, that at any moment, however I'm feeling or whatever's happening can just stop. And not only stop, but then like I'm kind of resetting, you know, for not only like those 4 days, but like if you catch me, you know, like every week I get better after a seizure. You know, when I was 7 weeks out, I was like, look at me. I can think all the time. This is so cool, you know, like, and so it's just kind of but like always knowing that this is going to be taken away because, you know, of the prognosis that I've been given, which is like seizures are not going anywhere. So I'm, and like, it's one of those things that I don't know. I feel a little conflicted about feeling grateful for what epilepsy's given me because it's kind of like this, like, oh, like really? I had to like, you know, I have to admit something good is from epilepsy, but you know, that's just how life works. We can, you know, that gratefulness comes from trauma. And,
That's it.
Totally.
you know?
Yeah.
so annoying. Like,
Can't
why
deny
can't
it.
it come from like the sun?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Well, it does.
Why don't we
yeah,
just
it
have
does.
it
It does
naturally?
because the sun is what gives you skin cancer, and the skin cancer is what gives you the perspective. So
That's
it
right.
does.
There you go.
That's true. Yeah.
Landis, you're an ideal Sickboy guest. This has been such an absolute treat. Loved every second of it. I
I
know
have
that
to-
our listeners love it.
Can I just say, like, this is like such an honor to be here. And I just want to say that, and I'm sorry that I interrupted you, Jeremy, but
No.
I just, like, in 2020, I think there was an episode, and I tried to find it. I can't find it, but someone who had a similar story to mine on your show. And it made such a difference in my life because I was not talking about my epilepsy at that point. I was keeping it very guarded and hidden. And this person's story just like resonated so hard with me. And they even like had a seizure on my birthday. So I thought like it was this fate thing, you know, and I just want to say thank you guys for the work that you've been doing for, is it 10 years now? Almost 10 years?
Yeah, 10 years.
So, and just thank you. It is an absolute honor to be here. And I just want to say thank you for paving the way.
Well,
No.
I want to say that
really sweet.
that anybody who's been listening for a long time, or anyone who's they're tuning into their very first episode right now, very likely feels the exact same way that I do about your ability to sit down and shoot the shit and share openly and vulnerably and with grace and humor. So for those people who most certainly now want to go over and check out your podcast, please plug away. How can they find What the F podcast, and how can people stay up to date with the work that you are doing? Because I know that it's not just the podcast. You got some other projects in the pipeline that seem very exciting. So please let the people know how they can find you.
Yeah. So What the F, and it's spelled what the and then EF for like the colloquialism of What the F. It's podcast. It's everywhere. It's on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, all of the places that you like to stream. And it's released in seasons, and it's spelled like the word seize, SEIZEN.
Nice.
Yeah, and
That's sick.
season 8 is May and June every Tuesday, and it's like 2 months on, 2 months off, because that's all my epileptic brain can handle right now.
Awesome.
I like your
Um,
seizures too, sort of. Like, I mean, you know, not,
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally, yeah.
Seasons
Yeah,
is
and
amazing.
it's you can keep up at. I've got an Instagram account that I'm terrible at keeping track of, but feel free to follow. That would just be super helpful. Also, What the F podcast, and yeah, I'm also like I mentioned, I'm a writer at heart. So I've been working on a book called My Brain Tumor's Boyfriend for a few years now, and I also have some bylines in like some fun places like NBC and Independent and Wired. And so just trying to keep that up. But as you guys know, podcast is a lot of work. And so sometimes other stuff falls by the wayside. But I'm just really grateful that it took off as it did. And I think that I know that it's created a huge touchstone for people living with epilepsy, just to see us out there, and just kind of, it's a way to hopefully mitigate that loneliness that can come with having epilepsy, which can be very isolating.
Yeah. Well, Landis, you rock. We love you. Thank you so much. And folks,
love
all
you
the
guys.
links to all that stuff is going to be in the show notes. Be sure you check it out. And yeah, thank you. Thank you for just adding to the show and being such a great guest. This has been really fun.
Thank you. This has been a blast.